On your Wednesday episode of Locked On Raptors, no, Scottie Barnes was not good in the Raptors preseason opener, but could everybody please just take a damn breath?
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Wednesday, October the 8th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 12 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can find the show on Instagram. You can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. 100% free to join. Come be part of our listener community in there. It's a lovely time to join. The season is drawing near. We're talking about games as they happen. We're fretting about the Blue Jays. Ugh, that was not good last night. Come hang out. We'd love to see you become part of our listener family. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's FanDuel.com. Head there to get started. And we will get started here on your Wednesday episode of the show as I'm digging deep into my classic bag as a podcast host and going it's fine mode regarding one Scottie Barnes. Yes, he had a really rough opening to his preseason schedule. 1 point, 0 for 6 from the field. Looked out of sorts, did not look like he found his place within the Raptors offense with Brandon Ingram involved in the mix. And we'll get into why that was to be expected, why it's not the end of the world, why the sky is not falling, and the ways in which the Raptors can tangibly go and weaponize Scottie Barnes more than they did in that season opener. We'll also get into when is it time to panic? When is it time to ring the alarm bells regarding Scottie Barnes? I can tell you what. It is not after 18 minutes and 50 seconds of preseason action in the preseason opener against the one of the favorites to win the NBA championship. I can promise you it is not now. We'll get it. Let's just dive in, shall we? We'll start with taking stock of the game on Monday night against Denver. Again, not pretty. 1 point, 4 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals. The defense continues to be a mainstay for him. He's really, really good at playing defense and providing backline protection, whether it is meeting guys with help, with strong hands, forcing turnovers, helping at the rim, whatever it is. Scottie Barnes is an incredible defensive player. That was not in question at all during this game on Monday night. Again, 18 minutes and 50 seconds of action, not a ton of court time. And, not pretty, obviously. Very much looked like a guy looking to reestablish his niche within the team, looking to find the ways in which he can adapt to playing with Brandon Ingram, who is now the best offensive player this team has. And so that changes the shape of everything this Raptors team is going to do. It's been a strange few years for Scottie Barnes, right? He is someone who over the years has played a whole lot of different styles, played a whole lot of different roles. This is the year for consolidation. And turns out one preseason game was not enough to consolidate all of these things that Scottie Barnes can do into what he will do within this new offense. Digging into the offensive issues, the scoring issues in particular, I thought the passing was fine. 5 assists, one turnover. Thought the connective stuff was there, almost to a fault at times where he was overpassing a little bit here and there. But as far as the shooting goes, yeah, he didn't hit any shots. He was 0 for 6. That's not great. You don't want to see that in any game, let alone, the first one out of the chute where you're feeling excited and you're looking forward to a new team. Again, the preseason does not matter, but I get it. People look to be excited by what they see in the preseason. And you were not excited. It was not a particularly stirring version of Scottie Barnes in this new look Raptors offense with Brandon Ingram leading the day. Let's break down where he missed, right? He had the one paint miss, kind of his former office, at least as a rookie or in his second year, where he really did find a lot of success in that short mid-range. He had one miss from there. He had 2 missed corner threes. And I know everyone says, he can't be taking threes. He's not good at them. Guess what? He's going to have to take some cursory threes from the corners to make this all work. And the more he takes them, the more he can hit them, the more he can perhaps flirt with getting back somewhere in the low to mid 30s from 3-point range. Just enough of a threat to make defenses sort of think about closing out, which again, we're a long way from that. But He's shown a capacity for it in the past. He's going to have to take those threes in the flow of the offense. It's just going to be a non-negotiable. Taking 2 threes in a game, I have no problem with that. If he's taking 4 over the course of a 35-minute load, I have no problem with that if they're in the flow of the offense and they're not pull-ups. And both of the threes he took in this game were catch and shoots in the flow. Totally fine. He missed them. You miss them sometimes. That's part of the deal. He missed 3 mid-range shots, and I feel like the concern, the sky is falling nature of the talk of Scottie Barnes and Raptors internet corners over the last couple days really comes down to him missing 3 mid-range shots. Really? This is what you're going to define Scottie Barnes with? This is what you're going to use as your cue to sort of set yourself up for your expectations for what he can be in this offense? That seems pretty silly to me. Yeah, he missed 3 mid-range shots. Yeah, I would love to see him, if he's going to take mid-range shots, I'd love to see them be 12 feet from the basket as opposed to the 18 feet from which he missed in those 3 instances in this game. They weren't good looks. They weren't within the flow. They were just kind of like, all right, well, it's here. I guess I'll take it and see what's up. And he missed them. Okay, he missed 3 mid-range shots. It does not mean he is a bad basketball player. Scottie Barnes, as it turns out, is a good basketball player. The reasons he struggled last season, I think, were pretty identifiable. We talked about him at length last season. The context for that team was a nightmare. Emmanuel quickly getting hurt early in the season threw the entire offensive structure into flux. Scottie Barnes was asked to do way too much. He was asked to play point guard way too much. He was asked to create from the top without much in the way of advantage creation ability, not a lot in the way of supplementary support around him, not a lot in the way of space and shooting to give like breath into the offense. And he was overexposed. He was overextended. And I think he and Darko and everyone on the team would tell you that. I don't think anyone's under any illusions that last year's version of Scottie Barnes was the peak version of Scottie Barnes. Nor do I think they're under any illusions that that's the type of play he's going to bring into this season. There has been plenty of talk over the offseason, at the end of last year, coming into camp, the stuff that Scottie was doing last year was a lot of experimentation. It was, let's see what you got in this season that does not matter, in this season where we are prioritizing development. Let's see what Scottie Barnes, in your first go-around, by the way, as being the number 1 guy on a team, let's see the limits of that. Let's see what you can and cannot do. And then we'll reevaluate in the summer and reassess and then fit you into a niche that fits the strengths that you have coming into the new season. You know, I think there's a lot of going around of, well, it's just the same Scottie we saw last year. It's not. Like the Scottie we saw in that game on Monday was not the Scottie we saw last year. The Scottie we saw last year had the ball in his hands a ton. He was pounding the ball into oblivion. He was driving into bodies, driving into help, driving into all kinds of traffic without much in the way of advantage creation, with no space around him. It was a rough scene. Last night, or Monday night, that's not what we saw. He took 6 shots in this game. He was not orchestrating the offense from the top. That was largely Brandon Ingram and in some cases Emmanuel Quickly. That was really the crux of their creation in that game, was Brandon Ingram just kind of doing stuff. And look, Brandon Ingram was really good. We talked about it yesterday on the show with Big V. He was really good, but Brandon Ingram himself is also still not fully folded into what the Raptors are trying to do systematically on offense either. It was a lot of long probing ISO stuff, and that's fine. It worked out. That's why they got him, to bail them out when the offense isn't quite working. At some point, the offense is going to work more as intended than it did in that game on Monday when the starters were on the floor. Again, we're talking about like 18 minutes of floor time for Scottie, less than that for the starters. And by the way, one of the starters did not play in the game in Jakob Poeltl. So you have Scottie Barnes trying to get acclimated to a new starting 5, a new environment in which he's being asked to be a lesser offensive creator, and you don't even have one of the starters, and you're in your first game, and it's just like, obviously, it's not going to be a fine-tuned machine. This is why you play the preseason games, so you can iron this stuff out. And I'm sorry, I know all the talk of, well, they've been working together for a month and all this stuff in the lead up to the season. That's great. That's awesome. Ask any player in any sport. It doesn't replicate a real game. Even a preseason game is a different environment than your practices against your own teammates, where everyone knows what's coming. Everyone knows the sets. It's an entirely different thing when you're up against another team with their own agency trying to stop you. And it just, the offense did not find its, like, it just, the gears did not fall into place at all in that first game. To be expected. They will have plenty of time to iron this out. Darko said it as much, like they're going to give the starters plenty of run to give them time to learn each other. This is how basketball works. Have you ever gone to pickup and you've been stuck on a team with 4 people you've never played with? Yeah, you probably lost your first game you played with that team because you don't know where everyone wants the ball. You don't know when to time your cuts. You're cutting into people's drives. You're cutting to the same place as other people. This happens. This is how basketball works, and it takes time and patience to sort these things out. And I get it. It's not instant gratification. Scottie Barnes did not come out as a new man on Monday and dominate and put up 25 points as this glorious play finisher who doesn't have to create all the time, can get stuff set up on a platter for him. That didn't happen. There will be games where that happens this year. I promise you that. And I would also go out on a limb and say he's probably not going to score a single point in basically any other game he plays this year, barring like leaving a game early with injury. I would suspect that this is the lowest output we'll see from Scottie Barnes points-wise all season long. Only one way to go from here, obviously. But, he's not bad. He's not broken. He's not miscast as a guy earning a 25% max contract on this team. He is a guy being asked to change and adapt to a new role within a team that's been completely changed from top to bottom with the arrival of Brandon Ingram, and a team that the core guys played 9 games together last year. This is all very new. This is a team that has had zero continuity, zero time with one another, zero reps. Again, it's not a surprise that it looked rough for Scottie Barnes in the first game. It wasn't the only guy it looked rough for either, right? RJ Barrett looked great. Brandon Ingram looked really good. Again, not quite within the flow of Raptors offense, but doing his own thing. He looked really good. Emmanuel quickly didn't look quite right. Off the bench, you had some guys look good. Jacoby Walter had a nice stretch. Mamu looked great. You also had Grady Dick struggling and other guys looking to find their spots. It's the preseason, man. I don't know how many times we got to go through the preseason to remember that the preseason just does not matter. It's not predictive. It doesn't portend much at all. And one game where Scottie Barnes doesn't score the points does not mean that Scottie Barnes is suddenly broken and cannot be a part of a winning formula for this team. He's got to figure some stuff out. There's no doubt about it. The team has to help him get there. He's got to put it upon himself to put himself into better positions. The team's got to find him when he's creating mismatches and getting those early seals that he didn't get hit for in that previous game against the Nuggets. This is also a guy who has never once had the luxury of patience or time or continuity in his career. It's been a strange first 4 years for him. And everyone will probably come back and be like, this is all excuses. No, there are explanations and there are excuses. I think what's going on with Scottie, what happened in that first game, a lot of explanations, not excuses at play here. Let's not be so quick to declare that he's doomed before he actually gets some time to sort things out. There will be a time for panic again if he doesn't get there, but I think there's plenty to point to of ways the Raptors can tangibly change the way he was deployed in that first game to make it work and to find that niche that he can succeed in and that he has succeeded in before. Coming up next, we're going to get into the ways I think the Raptors can better use Scottie Barnes and just kind of go back through his career as a player and pinpoint the stuff he's done well at certain times that can maybe be thrown together into the hopper for his new offensive package this season with Brandon Ingram on the team. We will get into that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Most people cannot name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. When you don't have a full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's where Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances before, if you don't like admin, like I do not like doing admin, it's a great way to just get all your accounts in one place. Maybe you have shared accounts with your spouse or partner or whomever, and you want to see where all your money's going at certain times. Where's the money going for the mortgage? Where's the money going for the bills? What do we have left over as disposable income? It's all there for you to go peruse on the command center that is Monarch Money. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNBA. Back at it here, talking Scottie Barnes, who is not bad at basketball. I don't know. I don't think it's a minority opinion in these parts right now, but I do think there's quite a loud fervor from a certain corner of the Raptors fan base that suggests, Scottie is cooked and bad and not good at basketball. Again, silly. There are ways the Raptors can go about better incorporating Scottie into what they do. There are ways Scottie can assert himself better. Let's get into some of those things here. When you think of the ways Scottie's been used over the years, it's kind of staggering the number of roles he's been asked to play in a very short time, just 4 years. It's like every new season has been a brand new version of Scottie Barnes. And there are some bonuses to that. He's gotten to work on some stuff that maybe he otherwise wouldn't have gotten to if he was put into a team where his role was more defined from day one. There's also the sort of, you sort of sharpen all of your tools, but you don't spend all of the time sharpening every single one with a fine tooth comb. And is that how you sharpen? I'm not a smith. I don't know how it all works, but you get my point. If you devote all your time to, working on all these little tools, you don't spend all of your time devoted to the few things you're really good at. Yeah, you become sort of this jack of all trades, master of none that Scottie Barnes kind of is. I still think he can be a master of some stuff. And again, go back through the years. Year one, he was this transition demon. Get the ball, go, try to get in his way on the run. Good luck. He's going to dunk on you, or he's going to set up somebody else to score because he's drawing all the defensive attention from the transition D when he's got the ball in his hands. He was an offensive rebounding monster. Think about those lineups they ran in the back part of that 21-22 season where Scottie was playing with Boucher and Achua and Siakam, and they were just hounding the offensive glass, second chance opportunities. He obviously had those bully drives into push shots, which our pal S. Barry Henny talked a little bit about in a video for Raptors Republic yesterday, I think, kind of digging into the power that Scottie Barnes used to play with. That is a thing that has been a little bit missing the last couple of years. Do I think it's gone forever? No. He's really strong. I don't know if you've noticed. He's like a strong, built dude with a lot of power. I think that can be channeled again within a system that is not overexposing him with the creation duties and burden that he had last season. He was just a pure power and strength guy that first year, and the results were pretty awesome. Year two, he played a ton as a nominal big before Jakob Poeltl got to town because he had to. The screen and dive game, some transition orchestration woven in. Again, a lot of offensive rebounding stuff, garbage man stuff, frankly, that I think Scottie Barnes stands a real chance of finding, a real niche with this year as well. There's a lot of honor in being like an incredible dunker spot guy. There's a lot of honor in being a dude who can keep possessions alive by crashing the offensive glass. It's not sexy. It's not creative, sort of orchestrating wing stuff. But again, Scottie Barnes has a lot of tools in his bag. He's just got to pick the right ones. And I think he's like, again, there's so much stuff to choose from that he's been able to sort of hone over the years that I still think he can find those things that he can be excellent at. Year three, you had him playing off of Pascal and with Pascal in this sort of dual creative wings setup. And I think that's probably the closest thing to what you're hoping to see this year with him. I think him and Pascal, by the time Pascal got traded, like they'd really figured out their chemistry. Everything else around them on that roster made no sense. But those two guys figured out how to play off one another, leverage each other's strengths, leverage each other's gravity into good opportunities for themselves. And I think there's a chance we'll see that as Ingram and Barnes acclimatize to playing with each other more, with just more reps and time and patience. Again, patience, that pesky thing that no one wants anymore. It's an important thing in sports, in team building, in gelling a team on the floor. It's just the reality. You need to have patience. And I do think the Siakam Barnes duo, like the Barnes Ingram duo has a chance of being really successful. I also think like the Siakam Barnes duo, it was always going to be capped by the fact that neither of them were particularly great three-point shooters. Brandon Ingram could be classified as a great three-point shooter. He's a really accurate three-point shooter. Maybe the volume's not there to be, quote unquote, great at it, but he's a good three-point shooter, an accurate one. He's got gravity. Teams are worried about him shooting threes because he hits a lot of them. I think that can lend itself to the Barnes and Ingram duo actually being even more harmonious on the floor than Pascal and Barnes ever were by the end. And then last year, obviously, it was the experimentation season. It was Scottie throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what worked. And look, there's a lot of turnaround jumpers, a lot of stuff that just kind of was a little bit stinky, a little bit, okay, like this is fun here, but is this really going to play when the team's being serious? Obviously, a lot of pull-up threes, that stuff I don't think we're going to see a lot of this year. The turnaround mid-range jumper is a great thing to have. It's a great counter. I'd like to see him try to force himself to the rim more often in those situations when he's got a mismatch as opposed to leaning on the turnaround. But as a counter, if people are playing you for the drive towards the rim, that's a great thing to have in the bag. And there was a skill that he actually kind of mastered last year. It can be part of the package. Just doesn't need to be a big one, but it can be part of it. Again, a lot of this is going to naturally sort itself out. This is the year the team moves into trying to compete, where Scottie's got to consolidate all of these things he's worked on over the past, pick the things that really work for him, And it's going to take a beat to do all of that, right? It's going to take a second to figure out where he can get his within this new system where Brandon Ingram is moving into the turf that he's occupied quite a bit in recent years. This is the adaptation we've talked about between these two guys that's going to be necessary for it to work. I'm hopeful and bullish that it can, but it's going to take some give and budge from both guys. And Scottie clearly is going to have to figure out some stuff to just, again, streamline his game. I talked about it earlier last week when I did one wish for every Raptor for this season. Simplify, streamline, do the things you're good at. And I think he's good at some stuff that we didn't get to see him really do in that game on Monday that I think they will find space for as we go forward here. You know, they've got to be intentional about this stuff too, right? Like some of it's just going to come from chemistry, right? The playing off of Ingram stuff, like he's going to learn the timing of when to cut off of an Ingram drive, when it's time to, cut baseline, when it's time to come and set the screen, where his guys like the screens, all this stuff, right? Like a lot of this is timing, a lot of this is reps. A lot of that stuff is going to sort itself out. They're going to find him in situations where he's done his early work and gotten a seal against a mismatch in a way they did not in that first game a couple times when he did do that early work and just didn't get found. That's all chemistry stuff. That stuff I'm not worried about. And then there will, again, have to be some intentionality about how they deploy Barnes as well. This is on the coaching staff. It's also on Barnes to grab the bull by the horns a little bit, right? Screen and dive stuff. I'm a big proponent of. I think Scottie Barnes can be a really excellent screen and dive man. I think he's someone who is just such a good passer from the nail area, who has that threat of driving and scoring when he really wants to lean into it. Who, again, he can hit a mid-ranger from the free throw line. I feel pretty comfortable with him taking that shot. Like, there's a lot of stuff he can do from the short roll. There's a lot of stuff he can do as a potential lob guy even. He's an athletic, bouncy dude, man. Like, there's a lob potential there for him as well. Screen and dive stuff, I think, has to be a big component of his game. We barely saw any of that in that first game. That's got to be more intentional. They got to work that in. As like a slashing second side wing, some of the stuff we saw in his best games last season, playing off of Emmanuel quickly, getting the ball off the catch on the wing, either taking a three if it's there and open for him, or, again, doing the thing that he used to do very well, which is chew up the space in front of him. If teams are not going to close out, use that runway they're giving you to get propulsion going forward as a big, strong, burly dude who can bounce dudes off of you with your shoulders. Use that to your advantage. Create a situation where you got to draw help, where the team has to bail out to send a second body, and then that is where his playmaking can really start to thrive. If he can hit 35% of his catch and shoots this year, big, tall order. He's not done it in the last couple of years. The first half of that 23-24 season was really the only time he's been a reliable catch and shoot three-point shooter, but it's a big part of it. And if that can come along, I don't think it's a non-starter. I don't think it's impossible for it to come along. Then all of a sudden you've got Scottie Barnes attacking closeouts, which is a really devastating thing that we've talked about with him throughout his entire career. That's something I think, again, it's a changing of his role. It's an adaptation. It's less of an on-ball creation role. It's more of a taking it and kind of making a quick, decisive maneuver when the ball comes to you type of situation. I think he can do that. Obviously, he's going to be used as a handoff hub. I think as like a keeper in handoffs. So playing with another shooter can be really, really effective. Again, getting downhill, getting to those spots he used to get to all the time. Dunker spot. Again, you play him with Jakob Poeltl. Him and Poeltl are really great at manufacturing space in close quarters when there's not a lot of space, sort of traditional space out there because there's not four shooters on the floor. But Poeltl as a roll man, as a passer, he draws attention from the defense because he's such a good finisher on that push shot. And he's someone who can create havoc and make those beautiful laydown passes to dunker spot guys, where Scottie Barnes is going to be lurking a lot this year. And I just think like that's going to be something that they can, when Poeltl's playing, really lean into as well. The big-to-big passing between those two guys is just going to be a lot tighter and cleaner and more productive than it is when Jonathan Mobo's out there. As much as I love Mobo, it just wasn't working, those two in the front court together. They like to occupy a lot of the same spots. Poeltl and Barnes have just way more time playing together on the floor, learning each other, learning where to occupy space when there isn't a lot of space. And I think that's going to come along. Pick and roll stuff with guard screening, right? Like this is a thing that the Raptors have done successfully in the past with Pascal Siakam and Kyle Lowry. And look, no one's the screener Kyle Lowry was as a guard. He's unbelievable, but ghost screens, flare screens, stuff like that, where the guard comes over, screens for Scottie. This is a way to make defenses panic a little bit because of the shooter that quickly is. Him flaring out to the wing is a really dangerous thing for a defense to reckon with. It can make defenses think, which is really all you're doing on offense, is trying to make defenses make quick decisions. And usually that's good. If you make them make enough decisions in a short amount of time, there's going to be an opening that opens up. And I also think this is a way to get more positive switches for Scottie, right? if you can use guards to screen for him, he can get favorable mismatches that he can overpower in a way that, maybe if you're screening for Brandon Ingram and there are like-sized guys guarding those two guys, maybe you're not going to quite find that. But still, like I think, you could still use a lot of Ingram and Barnes pick and roll, inverted stuff, whatever, to try to make those guys function as well. But I think specifically quickly screening for Barnes, and we've seen a lot of Grady Dick kind of go screening for Barnes, flare screening for Barnes. I think that's another thing too. Split actions where you have Barnes and a shooter working at the elbow and just kind of making, again, defenses have to make quick fire decisions. You make enough decisions in the short, or you're going to get some stuff going. And again, early work, run, seal. It's hard with Scottie playing so low in the defense a lot of the time for him to be the first guy down the floor. But there are plenty of opportunities where it is possible. And in those situations, they have to be intentional about finding him in those spots where he can get easy buckets and just like walk into the points he's going to, need to sort of fill that third offensive role this team is looking for him to fill, at least as a scorer. I think he can be as high as the second leading scorer on this team if they really find ways to optimize him as a finisher. But at the very least, he should be the third leading scorer. And again, there's just like easy chippy points on the board to be grabbed with Scottie Barnes. If this team is going to play as fast as they seem to want to, there are going to be ways to get Scottie Barnes those easy looks before the defense is set. There's got to be intentionality there, right? And look, this is why you play the preseason games. This is why you play the games, to get some continuity, some traction, some understanding of how everyone you're playing with wants to play. And look, there's also got to be some lineup stuff too. Like I think they got to be intentional about Scottie getting Scottie out there with four shooters at times, playing him with Mamu, playing him with other guys who can stretch in space to give him as much room to operate as possible. All of this goes into one thing. No player outside of like 7 players alive, no one is above context determining how effective they are. The Raptors got to work on the context, and that's what these games are for. Again, one preseason game is not the end of the world. We're going to come back on the other side, just have some closing thoughts, and get into when is it a fair time to panic? If Scottie Barnes can't figure it out, when should the alarm bells be rung? In some ways, like, they're kind of pot committed at this point, so those alarms are only going to ring so far, but we'll get into that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and $300 in bonus bets will be yours if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's a lovely thing. If you are, like me, extremely scared about Game 4 of the ALDS tonight, as it's a bullpen game for the Jays up against the Yankees and Cam Schlittler, and you really feel like this is a night where the happiness hedge would make a lot of sense, throw some money on the Yankees to win. If the Yankees win, at least you get some money out of the deal as you prepare for a very tense Game 5 on Friday. And if the Jays win, you're none the worse. You have won the grand thing, which is your team is moving on in the playoffs. Of course, you can throw your money down on all kinds of things, NBA futures. You got football bets. If you really think a team is going to win, use your $5 bet on that team and you get your $300 in bonus bets. Use your knowledge to get yourself them bonus bets to go and play around with on the app. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. FanDuel.com. All right, wrapping things up here on Your Sky Is Not Falling, R.E. Scottie Barnes episode of the podcast. We'll be back again tomorrow, of course, to break down the game against the Kings. Very late night game that hopefully the Blue Jays game is finished before, and hopefully a good result has happened. And so I'm not sad watching 10 p.m. Raptors-Kings basketball after a bad baseball loss. Boy, oh boy, what a night in the Toronto sports scene. Like the worst case outcome is you lose Game 4 if you're the Jays, and then also Scottie Barnes plays poorly again tonight. Tomorrow will be not fun. Anyway, when is it a fair time to panic regarding Scottie Barnes? And again, I promise you, it's not going to be any point in the preseason. It's certainly not after one preseason game. I think, as is usually the case, like 20 games is kind of the barometer, right? Like if you get to 20 games into a season, and this is not always true, sometimes injuries play into this and change the timeline for this, but 20 games is kind of the general, okay, we know what this team is all about. We know how these guys are being used. If Scottie can't find ways to be effective on offense by then, in this trimmed down, streamlined offensive role, then sure, concern will be fair and warranted. Lose your minds, as you see fit. If Scottie Barnes is still putting up one burgers when we're into December, then sure, that's bad. That should not be something that's happening. I don't think that's going to happen. We're nowhere close to that either, right? We are right now in the zone where anyone who had Scottie Barnes skepticism coming into this year was looking for that confirmation bias from that first game that he is in fact a bum or whatever. And congrats. You got that in the first preseason game. Laugh, enjoy it, whatever. Like, to me, it all reeks of like, hey, I was the first person to ring the fire alarm because I sensed 3 months before there was a fire in my building that there would be a fire in the building because my psychic at the carnival told me. So I pulled the fire alarm 3 months early. Like, that doesn't make you smart. That makes you an insane, paranoid weirdo. And you should wait until like the actual information is there before you pull the fire alarm. And we're nowhere near having that information on hand yet. The way Scottie Barnes struggled on Monday were in no way the same ways he struggled last season. There are two different things. You got to wipe the slate clean, essentially, as you have this new team with a new directive. They are actually trying to compete for the first time. Things matter. There are stakes. And yes, that makes it so it's more important for Scottie Barnes to get things together, but it doesn't mean that he's incapable of doing it because he didn't do it in the first preseason game. And again, I think there was a lot of looking for that confirmation bias of, in fact, yes, this guy is not worth the max contract. This guy stinks. And I just think, like, just to get a little philosophical here, like, there's got to be a more fun way to be a fan than to do this all the time. And by this, I mean a thing that Raptors fans have been like guilty of in recent years, which is just like piling on guys who are not deemed the best player on a championship team, dubbing them bad, dubbing them overpaid, and essentially working to drive them out of town the second trouble pops up. And I think this whole Scottie alarmism thing is exacerbated by the fact that Colin Murray-Boyles, the Raptors' shiny new power forward who is still a golden beacon of untouched basketball purity, hasn't yet disappointed anybody. And, ooh, maybe he's better than Scottie Barnes. And you might say, come on, that's crazy. I'm telling you, I've heard the thing. Maybe Murray-Boyles is better than Scottie Barnes or is going to be better than him in short order. The comments came in flowing yesterday. And not that I'm taking my cues from YouTube comments necessarily, but like, it's a thing you hear. And it's a thing we're going to hear because this is how this fan base operates. And it drives me crazy. They drove Pascal Siakam out of town. Look, the Raptors front office did that whole thing badly themselves. But like, the fan base was like so hostile towards Pascal Siakam because he took away from Scottie's development. That was stupid. That was dumb. That was about a team that was not built very well around two extremely good players who could have made it work in a different circumstance. But no, Pascal Siakam is not your classic number one, and therefore got to get rid of him. It's just like this happened with Fred VanVleet. Oh my God, he doesn't gel well with Scottie Barnes. He doesn't gel well with the Golden Boy. This boy who we simply must prop up as on the pedestal as the savior of the franchise. Fred VanVleet doesn't rock with that. Okay, he's got to go as well. Like, this is a thing Raptors fans. They did this with Chris Bosh. Like, I remember this when I was a young teenager watching the Chris Bosh teams, and I would have conversations with people and read about stuff in message boards of, this guy's not a number one. Why even have him on the team? He's not a number one. It could lead you to a championship. Like, there is room and space for very good basketball players who are less than all NBA inner circle superstar talents to be on basketball teams and to enjoy them. There really is, man. Scottie Barnes might not be what we thought he was going to be when he was the rookie of the year and he looked like a future star in the making. That doesn't mean he can't be a really important player on a winning basketball team. And like, there's just like this binary thing, I feel like, with the way basketball gets talked about now. And like, ESPN fuels this, the sort of Twitterification of basketball analysis is fed into this. Here's one clip that highlights why a guy sucks of it all. Like, it's just like, there's a more enlightened way to talk about this stuff than one game bad, this guy terrible. Like, it just like, again, with the Murray-Boyles thing, this happened the second Scottie Barnes was drafted. There was a corner of the fan base that said, well, Pascal's got to go now. And like, that eventually ended up happening. There was totally a way in which those two could have found a way to coexist on the team. Had the team made better moves around them, had they gotten a big man who could shoot as opposed to Jakob Poeltl, who just kind of made the fit even clunkier, all of that stuff. Like, we don't need to relitigate it all. But the day one, we got this new shiny young forward. The other guy must go. We simply cannot have two good players who do similar things on the team. It's silly. It's not a fun way to enjoy the sport. It's not a fun way to engage with things. And like, you really risk not enjoying anything if you are just constantly looking to pit guys against one another. And like this, with Colin Murray-Boyles in particular, it does hit no favors, right? If you're like, okay, well, Scottie's here, Colin Murray-Boyles here, eventually you got to pick one. Like, Murray-Boyles is going to be better than Scottie is already. All this stuff. Like, it's possible to just be like, wow, Colin Murray-Boyles could be really good. In addition to Scottie Barnes also being really good. Isn't that a nice thing to have two good players at a position of scarcity in the NBA? You figure it out. Like, it's just like, I don't know. Maybe I'm on my soapbox too much here. I just find that this fan base loves to be alarmist before you need to be alarmist and then pat themselves on the back for being right when the worst case scenario happens. When, again, we are so far away from having the conversation about, oh God, is Scottie Barnes an albatross on this team? And if that happens, sure, be concerned all you want. If we get to December, January, and it looks like it did in game one of the preseason, sure, 100% be concerned. There are a million reasons why it's not going to look that way come January. There's no sense worrying about the thing that might happen, but probably won't happen before it happens, because then you just worry twice. I don't know. There's got to be a more fun way and thoughtful and intelligent way, frankly, to talk about this stuff than, well, he had one bad game. We have this cool other forward. He's better, actually. He should be the guy who you build a team around. Like, you miss a lot of good, fun basketball players and enjoying a lot of good, fun basketball players by constantly worrying about whether or not they're the guy. There's room to be not the guy and still be a guy who's good on a good basketball team. And I would reckon that that's what we're going to see with Scottie Barnes, with some more time and reps and some intentionality behind how the team deploys him. And again, if you get to January and they've yet to do that, sure, call on Darko, say, what's going on here? Why is the coaching staff not putting him in an optimal position? Call on Scottie for why are you not being more assertive and physical? Why are you taking all these mid-range jumpers if you're still taking these mid-range jumpers that you're probably not still going to be taking? Because as we've established, the mid-range jumpers were part of the experimentation season last year. I'm getting tired. It's just like, it's okay. There are 6 preseason games. There are 82 regular season games. Not every single game needs to be a referendum on every player on the team, specifically not every single preseason game, which do not matter. They are the whose line is it anyway of basketball games. Everything's made up. The points don't matter. And ultimately, we're not going to be talking about this tonight if Scottie Barnes comes out and has a nice game. And boy, oh boy, wouldn't that be nice to have a nice game from Scottie Barnes. And if it doesn't happen, guess what? It's still not time to call Chicken Little as though the sky is falling regarding Scottie Barnes in his career. He's had a lot of moments of success in his career. He's done a lot of things really well. He's done a lot of things right. There's a lot to tap into there. This is not a guy this is not like Stanley Johnson coming in and being like, well, we're reimagining Stanley Johnson in this team, and he's going to be this beautiful third option for us, a guy who's never had any example of being good at that stuff. Scottie Barnes has been good at this stuff before. They haven't figured out the best way to optimize him within the new team. Guess what? Time, patience, it'll happen. I'm tired. End of show. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Go Blue Jays. Hope the Kings lose and the Raptors look good, all that stuff. Thank you so much for hanging out. We will talk to you very, very soon. Discord, link in the description of the podcast. You can come yell at me why I'm wrong for today's podcast. All you want. Anyway, have a good one. Bye. Damn it.